Hello, and welcome to 5 Minutes with KeRusso. I thank you for giving me 5 minutes of your time as I share with you this storyline of Korah. And it's a storyline that has a lot of ups and downs to it. We are in a downer today, a really big downer. And this part of his story is in Numbers chapter 16. So let me kind of give you a capsulized version of it. Korah, who is a Levite, his acquaintances or friends with a couple of guys by the name of Dathan and Abiram, who are Reubenites, another tribe in the nation of Israel. And they decide that they're not content with their place. They think that they could do things better than Moses. And they think that they could run the whole show, that they could be the leaders of this nation, that Moses and Aaron are not doing a very good job of it. And so they get a following of about 250 men, and they approach Moses and say, "Who are you to lead over us and to rule over us? Who made you top dog in this company here? We can do this." And Moses warns these people that they're rebelling against God and not to do this, but they're adamant they're going to fight against Moses and Aaron. They want to be the leaders. And so what happens is an event the next day where God is going to bring judgment upon Korah and Dathan and Abiram and all the people who follow him. And Moses tells the people, separate yourself from them or you're going to suffer the same fate. And what happens is the earth opens up and swallows these guys and much of their families. And they're just destroyed. And it's a terrifying, you can imagine what it would feel like to experience that. What you would do with the people of Israel, you would run. And that's what they did because they thought the earth is going to swallow them too. But Moses and Aaron were being held up by God, and God was bringing judgment upon these people for rejecting them, for rebelling against them, and thinking they could take over. Heck, we'll do this. We can take this spot over anytime we want to. We don't need these guys that God has selected. Forget that God is the one who makes the plans. Forget that God is the one who does the work. We'll do it our way. Now, the next day, the people get to think about what happened the day before, and a lot of them get angry, and they rebel against Moses and Aaron and rebel against God. They're just not going to follow. And God brings a plague that day, and over 14,000 people die. What's happening is God is bringing judgment upon people because of their pride, and terrible things happen to them. And we need to learn from that because, see, our pride can do the same thing to us, can work a number on us also. Because we think, hey, we're good enough. If we want a relationship with God, we don't need Jesus. Even though God raised Jesus up, his son, and raised him up and sent him to this earth and raised him up to die, to save and deliver us, we think we don't need Jesus. And Jesus would say, I'm the only way. He would say, he is the only way to the Father now. And the Bible is clear about that. God is working through his son. We can read in Numbers chapter 16 how angry God got when people rejected Moses and Aaron, people who were not his son. How do you think God is going to be, how he's going to feel, how he's going to respond when people reject his son, Jesus? That's something we need to think about. And so wherever you are, if you're thinking you don't need Jesus, you don't need to follow him, you don't need to be one of his disciples, you don't need to commit your life to him, listen to this story because you don't want to suffer the same fate. And God will bring judgment upon people who reject his son. Now, let me get back into the storyline of Korah. It's a terrible thing that happened to him. But you can read in Numbers chapter 26 and verse 11 that the line of Korah did not die out. God, in his judgment, his terrible judgment on that day, still showed grace to his family. There were some families that, like Dathan and Abiram, you read their story, and it seemed like everybody in the family was killed, men, women, children, on that terrible day. But you read in Numbers 26 and verse 11 that not all of Korah's family died out. Now maybe his wife and children, they realized what was going on and they separated themselves from Korah before judgment was brought upon them. But some of his children or grandchildren, I don't know how old he was, survived. And they lived on. And that's important because they're going to be part of the up side of the story. Today's a difficult day in the sense that we're looking at a very downward side of this story. And we'll leave you there. And it's probably a good thing sometimes to just sit and remember that God is God who judges, and we don't want God to judge us. So remember that, pray about that, and be sure that you're following Jesus, another man that God raised up. Thank you, and be blessed, and we'll see you next week for a better part of the story.